Guys, this is the built transmission out of our 2001 Dodge. We recently slipped it on a trip, so let's open up this built transmission and see what failed. All right, so here at Power Driven, we recently acquired a 2001 Dodge Ram Dually, 3500 diesel because we wanted to build the ultimate VP-44 injection pump tow rig. And in the quest for that, we obviously are going to add power. So
yeah, of course. And so when we got this thing, it had a built transmission already in it from some local shop. Don't know who built it, but it was a built transmission. So we threw a tune, a turbo, some injectors at it, got up to that 400, 450 horsepower range, and it felt good. It drives awesome, but we hooked a trailer up to it and we started slipping that transmission a little bit. So we've already upgraded it with one of our 650 units, but we're going to pull this thing apart and see what comes in just a generic local build that is a built transmission. So this is always like super cool. I mean, if this was an ornament, we nailed it. Todd got that perfect amount of slip, got that nice gold color there. It's awesome.
So for the guys that can't quite tell on the camera, the torque converter is blued. That's from heat. So there's a lockup clutch that applies against this back cover and it's blued. This is not a stock torque converter. It has this heavy duty ring here. That's kind of all you really get on a local built torque converter. Regardless, so it's a beautiful converter. There's hardly any rust on it. It's got beautiful welding. I can tell this is a fairly new torque converter because there's hardly any corrosion on it. But
and it is better than stock. Like the builder definitely threw a better than stock converter at it, but making 400 horse, apparently it wasn't quite enough.
So that's the first sign of carnage. We'd have to cut it open to see, but to be honest with you, it's just going to have a little bit of black on the lockup lining. So let's get into the rest of this transmission.
And what's great about a 47 transmission is they actually give you the tools you need to remove them.
Okay, there you go. That's open. So he pulled all the pump bolts out, and then he's putting a course bolt in there just so we can get the pump out of here. Usually you need a pry bar of sorts.
There you go.
Made it look so simple.
I think mine was easier.
Need my hammer.
I know. We don't have a lot of claw hammers in the race shop for some reason.
Okay, so there's the transmission pump. We'll take that apart in a minute and see, but looks like it has all the seals and everything on it.
So before we can go ahead and take that drum and stuff out, we got that band's going to try to hold us up. So we just pulled out the adjuster and the lock nut. That way that band's now free floating, which will just pull that input shaft out of there.
Did I get it free enough?
It's got a nice band in it, honestly.
I don't usually pull them apart, so
I know.
they're hooked on the bottom there.
There you go.
All right, so first bit of carnage here. This drum has some scarring on it.
But that's not from this band.
But the second year band, it has a little heat on it, but it's fine. So this is damage from the previous build. They didn't replace that drum. They probably should have. So it's a little bit scarred up. You can see the scarring there. So that happens when you wear clear through the lining on the band down to the rivets, and the rivets will grind in there. Where this is a fresh band, it's not worn down. So
it's a good quality band, so they did good there, but maybe resurfacing that drum or replacing the drum would have been the play. Next up we have your Mickey Mouse washer. So interesting here, they've got a shim. They've got a shim on a medium washer. I'm gonna guess that they did all this to try to fix a worn out overdrive housing. Like we use a K-saver in the back, retighten that overdrive housing up. They probably did this, that's just a guess, to try to accommodate for the same problem. It's like the more wrong way of doing it though. It probably worked. It obviously wasn't the failure point, but.
it's tight.
Need Poppy?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
a pry bar when you take the panel off to get it there.
Yeah. I really wanted to just...
Well, let's pull out the lever while it's here. Strut.
Strut? Okay, you talk about that.
Okay, so we got second gear band strut we pulled out. This is an upgraded part. The stock one is a thinner sheet metal. So it does have an upgraded strut and anchor. So that's good. These are things that similar to like what we would use in a build. So this, when you do high line pressure, this applies the second gear band, this strut, and so it pushes on the band. And when you get a high pressure valve body, it'll bend the strut. So that's a good upgrade. So that's a good. This anchor is on the other end, and sometimes this will split. And so just an upgraded. So it's got a lot of people call it a billet strut and a billet anchor. So that's good. So there's some good there. It's the first two upgraded parts. I guess the band is technically a little upgraded over stock too. So it's got upgraded band. So second gear stuff so far. See the color of the fluid here? Guy's shoe's a little hurt. But it made it back home and you can just tell it's a little burnt. Oh, if you could, if they had smell vision, dude, you could smell that. It's pretty rare. I'm glad I have gloves on. Let's put it that way. That is some dark transmission fluid. It was ruby red when we started.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, they have an upgraded pan on here. See this transmission pan? This is a Derale pan. It says Derale on it. It's sheet metal and it's steel. So it's a steel sheet metal pan. And their idea for extra cooling is they have these little holes in the bottom, these little tubes to make air. I don't think they cool nearly as good as a aluminum pan with cooling fins, but they are affordable. And it does hold more fluid, so that is an upgrade. Okay, Myers just getting the pan bolts off here so we can...
So we have a temperature thing. It doesn't look like it got triggered, yeah?
One thing we're noticing here, there's a glued-on temperature indicator to indicate, and it has not been popped, so this transmission has not been overheated. It looks like the builder glued one of those on there so they could tell if the customer had abused the transmission with heat. And we didn't. If we had towed and let it continue to slip at that power level, we would have totally burned it up and not made it home. We turned the power down so we could. Okay, let's get the pan off. You can see some sparkles in here. A lot of that looks like brass from thrust washer wear. It's pretty normal wear to see some in there. The power-driven 650 transmission, we don't use all those thrust washers. We use Torrington roller bearings, so our transmissions don't typically make brass like that, but that's totally normal wear you'd see when you service a transmission. Okay, so I got the valve body out. First thing here, I can see an upgraded solenoid. That's the BorgWarner solenoid. That's what controls the pressure for shifting, so that's upgraded. This is a stock pressure sensor here. We usually upgrade those with the roster one that's white on there, and they handle higher pressure. So this is fine for stock, but if you elevate the pressure, these factory sensors fail. But they do have the good governor pressure solenoid in there. Looking at the filter here, you can see it's kind of sucked in and indented. This is the correct filter for this model year of truck, but we like to use the earlier style filter. They flow more, and they don't suck in like that as early. See how this one's all...
Yeah.
So like the debris, it was working hard. Starting to starve it for fluid. Anything else we can see on here shift kit wise?
No shift kit. So it looks like a special blend of herbs and spices. We've got a bigger hole there, so he's bumping the pressures up, which we knew is a little bit more than factory.
That little hole there, that's a sign that somebody's raised the pressure when it's in lockup or overdrive.
But look at this, so this clip here is factory, and you can see it's almost starting to blow out. That's something that happens, is that clip with the higher line pressure will blow out, even on stock valve bodies will blow out, and then that valve falls out, and then you got a big leak.
So one of our valve bodies, or most other, you could say, mail order catalog performance builders that kind of specialize in these, we always would put a heavy clip there. We'd never leave that. But it hadn't failed yet, but it's definitely on its way out. So that's kind of a problem, potential problem area there. All right, let's get back in this transmission.
So looks like we got some more billet here. We got a billet servo.
Accumulator.
Yeah, accumulator. So it's very possibly, it looks like a Sonax one, so that's a good
looks
part.
like a Sonax accumulator, which is upgraded. The factory one's plastic, so there's another part. It's really easy. A lot of guys, like we sell a pan-off upgrade kit that a customer can do at home. That's one of the parts we put in a pan-off kit, because if you pull the valve body off while the transmission is still installed, you can put this heavy-duty accumulator. The big difference is it has 4 seals instead of 2, and it's aluminum, not plastic. But oh, there's a little upgrade here too. Cool.
Little Sonax servo cover. Again, that's not a bad part, so I think that's good.
Like that's a good little upgrade for second gear. This, the main upgrade on this, I don't know if you can see in the middle, it's got an O-ring right there that they've added. That O-ring helps this cover to seal on this servo. Right here on this pin. The factory one doesn't have a seal there. So then, the reason you upgrade this cover is when it goes into second gear, this servo goes up and applies the band. When it goes into third gear, this has to go back down with pressure inside here. And if that leaks, it doesn't release second gear clean, and it'll have a bind up between 2, 3. So this is a common upgrade, part of our pan-off upgrade kits. We have a power-driven servo cover that's very similar to the Sonax one. So this is a good part. So there's been a few upgrade parts. We'll kind of put this over here in our pile of upgrades.
That drum is way too loose. I think they missed something there. Like, not a problem. They didn't cause a problem, but it's not right.
Yeah, this drum shouldn't be moving like that.
This is also very tight in here.
I bet you this is friction welded onto that overdrive support.
That's way loose. Okay, just. This isn't the normal way you take this apart. There we go. There's that. Oh, look at that. Broke the clip. Where's the snap ring? Oh, there's a sprag in there. We're good.
No snap rings, they missed that?
I can't tell if it's stuck. Yeah, they didn't put a snap ring in it. So they missed putting the snap ring that holds this drum on, which it didn't cause problems. It was just wearing right here. Yep, you can see right there. It's wearing on that ring. It didn't cause any problems. It would eventually just cause debris.
Just make metal and start. That might be why the filter's a little sucked in though, because there's a lot of metal floating around in there.
And so
that would have caused longevity issues.
Yeah. Also looks like, yep, it was touching the welds here too. It was hitting all the welds inside there, grinding through it. Yeah, that's a good amount of metal there. So that's probably the start of clogging a filter.
That might be, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, just a basic mistake. And normally you assemble these things vertically, so you set that drum down in there, it's staying put. You wouldn't really know other than the fact that you paid attention, like you missed a snap ring.
This does have an upgraded lever in here. It's not a stock one. So this is the second gear lever. That's billet and upgraded, really common for people to upgrade. So once again, they did all the mods for second gear on this transmission, and the second gear band doesn't look terrible. So second gear was holding okay. A little bit of a builder error there, missing that snap ring. All right, so this is the low reverse band we pulled out. This is an OEM band. The OEM ones are really good, the factory bands. This one is pretty worn right here in this finger. Pretty soon, that finger was gonna go metal to metal. I would bet you, based on the wear, they probably reused this from the previous build, and because it shouldn't have that much wear. These things last hundreds of thousands of miles. So, but it is the right band, so there's that. This is the servo, it came out of here. This servo applies the low reverse band, and it looks like they put a billet servo. It looks like a Sonax part to me. So they put a Sonax servo in there. This part doesn't commonly fail on regular trucks. Ones that snow plow and they're using manual first and reverse a lot, or maybe tow trucks backing up trailers. It's a good idea to put that in there. But yeah, there's another little upgraded part there. It's not really a strength or anything. It's just more of a reliability mod at that point. They didn't do the billet other part. The servo pin is billet. So there's another part that could be upgraded on that, but that's fine.
Oh, I forgot this is in a four-wheel drive. We can get it all these. Oops.
Like this to crack her loose.
Okay.
This is your overdrive piston support. There are no lip seals torn or anything on the inside and outside. This looks good. I don't see any big scuffing here. This is an aftermarket overdrive piston support. These things commonly wear out and get beat, so it's not uncommon to see that, but it does have a good one in there. So slight upgrade there. All right, another thing I noticed, this has the factory grade 5 bolts in here. These are not normally a problem at stock pressure level, but when you start cranking up the line pressure, the governor pressure also comes up quite high, and these things get spongy and they'll start leaking. You have some shifting issues sometimes. So we upgrade all these to a grade 8 bolt. It's not very expensive to do, you know, $5 or $10, but a reliability mod that we do with that on all of our transmissions because we've had problems with it before. All right, so now we're getting into the guts of the overdrive, or the tail section. The very first thing are the overdrive brake clutches. These don't really see a lot of wear until you get in a bigger power level, but we can see in here, it looks like they have good GPZ clutches. That's similar to what we use. So,
yeah.
So it has good clutches in there. Let's see how many are in there.
It's not worn. They don't look worn at all. They look really good.
Maybe I do need a pick. So there's 2 frictions. 3 frictions, 4 frictions. The steels are all looking pretty mint. 5. So this has a 5 clutch setup. They are upgraded clutches, so they're going to hold a little bit more than stock ones, but it's 5. We normally put 6 clutches in there. The way we do that is we machine a step into the snap ring so we get an extra clutch and steel in there.
It's got the factory wavy in there.
This wavy ring here, this cushions the overdrive shift and makes it softer. Like I said, if you're trying to make overdrive hold power, you don't need this. There's plenty of other places in the transmission to give. You don't need to soften that shift. So it's upgraded clutches, but not clutch count and overdrive, but totally sufficient for a 500 horsepower build. We put 6 in everything we sell, right? Even our Stock Plus?
650, no, 650 and up.
650 and up, so.
Yep. So, I mean, that's, if this was a 550 horsepower transmission, it would have gotten a billet input shaft, but that would be the same clutch count. So, and it looks great. No heat there, no problem. Another thing, we'll pull this guy out, but there's a snap ring here. This is super, super common to see this one break. If you ever pull your pan on your truck and you see a bit of snap ring in the pan, you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Is my transmission about to blow apart? That's probably this snap ring. Luckily, the snap ring is retained pretty well, and so
it's a snap ring right down here.
Yep, and so it's retained pretty well to where a piece of it can break and it won't just cause immediate catastrophic failure, but it definitely means like you should probably start like budgeting for a transmission build. Like you need to be able to take this thing apart, replace that snap ring, and because of that, we replace the snap ring on all of our builds, just Stock Plus and up. And so it kind of looks like he did the same. Like this looks like an aftermarket.
Yeah, it looks like a new snap ring. So
he did good there.
Good on that build. We put a new snap ring. Now, he might have done that purely because it was broke and he had to source it.
Yeah, you never know, but he did good on this one.
But he did good. It has the right snap ring in there and a new one.
So, and then for this guy, just use some snap ring pliers. Pop it out. There you go.
This is the output shaft. This is stock. There's not a lot of these available in the aftermarket in a billet. That's totally fine. This power level. Inside, there's some more clutches in there. They rarely wear out. That's the Overdrive Direct clutches. I don't even have a drum compressor here in the race shop. We'd have to go over to our trans shop to do that. So that's all we're going to get to in the Overdrive.
Which, for this power level, we'd expect it to be basically stock in there. As long as it's built correctly, it would be fine. Like this would be exactly how we do even one of our 650 units. Just stock goods, stock internals.
All right, let's get up into the other clutch packs in the front. So we still got to look at the forward clutch pack. That's for all forward gears. And the third gear or direct clutch pack. That's where we expect to see some heat. And there's some common places to upgrade there. We'll see what's in here. All right, so now we're getting into the meat of the transmission. The very first thing on there is the second gear band. that rides on this third gear drum, and we already looked at it. It's an upgraded BorgWarner band. Now this is the front clutch, or the third gear direct clutch. This is what the engine uses in third gear and actually reverse too. Let's pull it up and see what's in there. All right, so this is the third gear clutch pack. Normally there are 4 frictions in here. I can see a stepped reaction plate in there, so I know they're gonna have more clutches, which is good. They want more in there. So we've got 1, 2 frictions.
Is that some heat there?
Yeah, there's some hot spots on them. See these little black spots here? That's heat from it slipping. So there's 2 frictions, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 friction setup. Normally our 650 that we put in here, we have 6 clutches in there. So 5 is an upgrade over stock. That's the same as a 48 RE. So 2003 and newer, they have 5 from the factory.
And something I'll mention on this machine reaction plate, this is like a very common one you can just get from anywhere. They machine a lot of material out of here. I mean, when you machine it, you're getting rid of some material, it's gonna become less stiff. Well, we machine only what is necessary to get that snap ring out, whereas they went overkill, got rid of a lot of material. It's easier way of doing it. You're never gonna have issues assembling, but it will make it weaker. And so that's something we do and we pay attention to. It's just only taking out the material we actually have to fit more clutches. That way, where the friction's actually applying is still as much of the thick material as possible. So
something different we do, but this is common.
Yeah, if you
but also not, if you're gonna put 200 PSI line pressure in there, that is not the reaction plate. That will crack and fail, and it'll burn up clutches faster.
We already talked about the drum. It's got some scarring and wear on it. Otherwise, it looks okay.
It looks like a used bushing though. I don't think the builder put a new third gear bushing in there. It looks pretty worn.
And we've got some blacking in here. So that previous build, it burned up the directs. And
yes.
Because these did not make that marking.
And this could be the original transmission for the truck. We don't know. But seeing inside the drum here, all this black, that's from it burning up old clutches in there. And these aren't burnt like that. So just kind of a poor cleaning job on that drum. And obviously the scarring, we wouldn't put that in a transmission. But if you're a local builder and you don't have a stockpile of parts and the customer wants his truck done tomorrow, sometimes you'd make poorer decisions like that.
Next off, we have the forward clutch. This one's confusing because it's called the forward clutch, and some people call it the rear clutch because it is in the rear of your direct clutch. So it's the forward or rear clutch. I call it forward.
But all the power in the transmission runs through this clutch.
Yep.
Normally it has 4 frictions in there, and this one has 4.
Yep. They're not the GPZs. They look like a kind of more budget. They never go bad. Like, we just put the good GPZs in them regardless, but it probably wouldn't fail. Like, this is fine. But yeah, solid.
I can't see part numbers on them or whatever, but that's not a... But, I mean, occasionally some shops will upgrade to 5 there, but that's not a common upgrade, so that's totally sufficient for what they're doing, other than...
I would honestly recommend, if this is your tow truck making sub 1,000 horsepower, 5 clutches does not belong in that trans build. You're more likely to have issues moving forward where you've got your... you get your transmission starting to wear out, you start getting more and more clearances, things are moving around more, you don't have as much forgiveness with a 5 clutch setup being wider to make that work.
Let's look at the input shaft for a second here.
Oh, yeah?
So this has a stock input shaft. These break. I broke my first one at 500 rear wheel horsepower on my truck. They commonly break and they kind of peel like a banana. They usually crack out of these big feed holes for the torque converter and kind of spiral around. I'm trying to see if I see any hairline cracks started yet. I don't see any cracks on it yet, but this definitely is, if this truck had a better torque converter, it would have held more power before it slipped. The torque converter is what was slipping, from what we can tell, but this would have broken shortly after. So it's kind of like that. Seeing all the debris on here, I can tell this was used from this old third gear because there's burned up clutches on here. We can see all the tar and burnt fluids build up there.
And you can see the burnt oil splashing out onto this drum, leaving us with the stripes there. So yeah, this direct drum, this input, and this input retainer was all used together on a previous build that burned up those directs. Popping this out. This is all just factory, really nothing to talk about here. It all looks pretty good. Okay, yeah, factory input, factory piston, factory retainer. This is a good setup if I mean, other than the input shaft. Like, this whole assembly would have been fine. The input shaft would have been your first failure point.
Okay, so this is the gear train planetary assembly. All of your gear reduction and stuff happens in this. They call this the sun shell and your forward planet. First off, I can see there's 5-pinion steel, which is factory stock, plenty strong for this build level. Don't usually get into a 6-pinion steel till what, about 1,000 horse when we need it?
Yeah.
So.
Intermediate, it's factory, very adequate for the job. Look at that, a lot of wear on that input.
Yeah, so it's been hammering in there because it was a little loose on the end play there. So.
Yeah, and it probably wasn't replaced when he did the rebuild, which sometimes you don't have to replace them if they still measure correctly, but it probably didn't. So we got, this is a plastic, this is supposed to be on the lower verse drum, but again, they forgot the snap ring, it broke the tangs off, and so that drum, it wasn't doing anything.
So this drum in the transmission, that's supposed to be on there, the snap ring, and that snap ring was missing.
We got this guy. Everything looks normal here. It's just a 4-pinion, so this is a factory 4-pinion planet. So you'd think like, oh, 4-pinion aluminum, it's too weak, like it's gonna break, that's somehow the problem. It really isn't. These things are very capable up to like probably about 800 horse. I don't think I've ever seen them blow up.
I ran it up to 1,000 on my truck
no
and
problem.
didn't break it, but I did wear that out.
Yeah, the Achilles heel of these things is from the factory. They use the back of the planetary as your wear surface. So they give you this washer that sits in the back, and it sits there, and that's your grinding. Anytime you're in reverse or first, it's sitting here, it's grinding on this drum, and it's using that back of the planetary. And as you can see, it doesn't look great. That's pretty typical what these things look like. Actually, it doesn't even look terrible. It's actually one of the better ones. And so that is one reason why we rollerize all of our stuff, is that way you get rid of using a planetary as your thrust surface, and now it can actually just function as a planetary and not get worn out in 20,000 miles. The front of the planetary, they do have a thrust washer here. I don't know. That doesn't look replaced. That looks kind of OEM-ish. Either that or this thing had a pretty hard life after the rebuild. So that's, thrust washer did its job, but it definitely has some wear on it. The drum here seems tight enough. No huge wear. I think this was fine. There's no reason to replace that.
Yeah, and a lot of times this will get worn and loose, and this feels fine.
Or these tanks get beat up. That's more bigger power stuff. Like, we were right there in the power level this thing's designed from the factory. So that looks pretty decent. That's not terrible. That thrust washer looks good. Again, thrust washer on this side. Starting to see a little bit more wear, which makes sense. When you make power, these things are getting clamped together. So that's the one that would see that load. We got this little plastic shim. Those we use those on all of our builds. They're just a factory part. They don't really do anything other than hold everything centered. So that is A-okay there. And then we got the factory 5-pinion planetary. Everything looks and feels good off the bat. So I'd say this is a good piece. The only thing we've done differently here is rollerize it. But everything looked good. Definitely would have replaced the thrust if he hadn't, but we don't really know that for sure. So not a bad part. Okay, well, put yourself in the perspective of this guy. This is an old gentleman, has a 2001 bone stock truck, transmission fried on it. He took it to a builder and got a built transmission. Would you be happy with what you see?
If I had a stock transmission, or I didn't know about any of the myriad of performance transmission builders, I think that he got exactly what he paid for, and hopefully got a bargain on it. The parts are fine. They addressed key things. Our stock plus transmission we sell is very similar in components to this. Stock input shaft. And we tell guys, this is great for a stock truck. We address the weak points. I'm a little bit nervous about some of the stuff they reused, the missing snap ring. I mean, accidents happen. That drum should not have been reused. But did it cause a failure right now? No, it's just shoddy workmanship is really what we would call that. But overall, I think that this would have been a fine transmission for a stock truck, but you add just a few bolt-on parts and you overwhelmed it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, also the snap ring and the lower drum, that would eventually have just worn through something and caused problems. But if it was built correctly, I think it's actually not a bad transmission for the stock power level.
All right, guys, so our tow truck Willard is getting a great upgrade with that 650 transmission. All kinds of upgrades. I expect it to hold 3 or 4 times the power before it has an issue. But that's all we have for this video. It's torn down, it's there. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment ideas that you want to see us do, or if there's something we missed, or if Myer said something wrong talking about the low reverse planet and where it gets used, let us know in the comments. We want to hear it.
I feel like you know I did it wrong. Like, I don't want to get called out now.